Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome everybody to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the hockeythinktank.com, a website for all players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. What an episode we have for you guys here today. Last week, I traveled up to beautiful Rochester, New York. It was 70. It was sunny both days that I was up there. Did a little team building, did a lot of fun stuff, which I'll get to in just a second, with Bishop Kearney Selects, which is a hockey academy up in Rochester, New York. And I was at their school, and they have a podcast room in their basement. So got to do an in-person podcast with some of the leaders of the Bishop Kearney Selects, Chris Collins, who we've had on the podcast before, Ben McManama, and David Arduin. And what a podcast this was. Sorry, Vechs is only going to be on the intro here today, guys. I'm really, really sorry. Vechs is just
slightly less hot podcast. Slightly less hot pot. Hotness is going down, but that's all right.
That is true. That is true. But this was a phenomenal podcast. It's always really cool when you can do this stuff in person. It just adds a little bit more flavor to it, which is a lot of fun. But before we do get over to those three guys, let's get over to the talent. You've already heard him, but Jeffrey J. Hulavecchio. Vechs, what's up today?
I got a really cool call about an hour before we got on the pod here tonight, doing the short shifts live. I was working with a club called the St. Louis Rockets here in town. I ran their off-ice training. One of my coaches ran all their sessions, and I programmed them and did a bunch of speeches for them and stuff like that. And in years past, like, they had not won a whole bunch of Blue Note Cup championships, and this year they won the most they've ever won, attended the most championships as an organization that they'd ever been in, and they won the most they'd ever won. So obviously that's not just the off-ice training that they're doing, but just a whole bunch of things the Rockets are doing, and I'm really, really excited to be a part of their organization, and excited to keep moving forward with them. So pretty dope to hear that news out of them. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Congrats.
Hard work pays off, get these kids working harder, but it's like everything we talked about, or you guys will hear in short shifts later in the week. Not going to give it up, but we talk about some of these things, and the more you do with your team, you're just going to go further, and off ice training also acts as team bonding.
100%. 100%.
100%.
Yeah, I kind of messed that one up.
Today, Junior.
So true, man. I was out in Bishop Kearney working with those guys, and Chris Collins and I go way back. We coached together 5-6 years ago when I was still living in New York. And coincidentally today, somebody called me at the highest levels of hockey about one of the kids that we coached, which is kind of cool. You had them at 16 years old, and all of a sudden you got NHL teams calling about certain kids. And that is a good scout. Hey, like, that is a good scout. I heard you might have coached him at some point, when he was youth. Let me hear about his family. What was he like? What's the progression like? Like, was he a rink rat? I mean, that's why that team is very, very good. So yeah,
this was an NHL team calling.
NHL team calling, asking about a kid when he was 16 years old.
Asking about what type of kid he was, probably like, how was he in the locker room? How is mom and dad? How does he treat other people? Does he show up on time?
Absolutely.
Wow. It all matters, guys. Every little detail.
Yep. And so for you kids out there, what your coach says matters, because people are calling. People are calling for sure. And so, yeah. And anyway, interesting little side note, but yeah, Chris and David have been really good dudes. And so we got the chance to sit down and do our live podcast. I guess not live, but in person. But dude, like, the craziest part about it. So it was like 70 degrees when I was out there. And when I pulled in to the school, so I flew in, or I actually drove in, 9-hour drive, but drove in on Monday. And the kids were all playing roller hockey in the parking lot of the school. And I was like, this
Unreal.
is the best.
Oh my God. Straight out of D2.
That is what I thought. I was like, there's some Mighty Duck vibes going on here. 100%. Yeah. And
Collie's
so
got the duck call. Averman.
Fulton Reed. Anyways, but it was cool, man. So we were up there for 3 days. So the first day, I went up and I did team building with all the teams up there. They're getting ready for their states and their nationals, and they get a chance. Those guys got a chance to win both state and national championships at all levels, 14s through 18s. So first day came in, did team building, and then we brought Barry Smith in. And for those of you that don't know Barry Smith, we've developed a partnership with him. He's a 7-time Stanley Cup winner as a coach. So he won Stanley Cups in Pittsburgh, Detroit, and in Chicago. And so he came in and spoke to the players on Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday, we did a coach collaboration workshop where Barry he's the smartest hockey person I've ever met in my entire life. 7 Stanley Cups will probably do that to you. And so we did a bunch of stuff with the coaches and then got on the ice with the players. And dude, this was unbelievable to be able to collaborate and to be able to get on the ice and see Barry work his magic as a coach. I mean, this is a guy, and again, he's telling stories to these kids about Yzerman. He's telling stories to these kids about Yager. He's telling stories about these kids about Taves and all of these superstar NHL players and how hard they work, man. Like, it doesn't happen by accident. And so just a phenomenal couple of days. And we're so lucky to have this relationship with Barry. And we went to Bishop Kearney here this week. We're actually heading out to Pittsburgh in a couple weeks to work with the Pens organization out there. So just really, really cool stuff. I became a much better person, much better coach from those couple of days, to say the least. And the BK guys and the BK kids were awesome. What an experience, huh?
Why are they winning so much?
Why are they winning so much? I mean, they've got a really good thing going. They've only been around for 4 years. BK's only been around for 4 years. They started like during COVID, which is absolutely wild. They already have 2 national championships. Can you believe that? They started 4 years ago and they already won 2 national championships, one at the 16 level and one at the 14 level. And it's all people, dude. It's all people. And so like the guys who are running it are great guys. Again, like I go back with Chris and Greg Collins, who, he's best buddies with Muntz. Like he's the 14U coach. They won the national championship at the 14U level last year. And they really care. They're really organized. I said it on one of the short shifts episode, like I walked in the locker room and it was spotless. Absolutely spotless. Walked through the dorms to get to the community area where we were going to do our team building stuff. It's spotless. Like the dining hall, spotless. Like that stuff matters. How you do anything is how you do everything. They're holding these kids accountable, not just the hockey stuff, but they're holding them accountable to like life stuff. And when you send your kid away from home at that age, sometimes at 14U, which can't be easy, you got to make sure that you're putting your kids in the hands of people who are going to hold them accountable and teach them the life stuff. And so that's one of the things I thought was really special. Dude, as you know, everything. And we even talk about this on the podcast, like the model isn't really that, like, it's not the game changer. Like people think about community model, academy model, AAA model, business, like whatever. Like it's people. It's people trumps model any day of the week. Each of these models have their strengths, their weaknesses, but like at the end of the day, you could have the best model ever invented. If you don't have the right people executing on it and caring about it, it doesn't really matter. So short answer, like the people who are running it are great dudes who care, they know what they're doing, and they hold the kids accountable.
Amazing. Very cool to hear.
Yeah. And Chris, absolute beauty.
Absolute beauty. So good at hockey too.
He was so good. I was telling the kids, I was like, do you guys have any idea how good this guy was back in the day?
Oh, bro. 20 goals in the AHL, 0 power play. Dude, was
that in Providence?
Out. Yeah, the year that I signed. So my first, like coming up right out of college, I finished the last like 60 days with the team. and it was the winningest team in AHL history up to that point. I don't know if anybody's broken the regular season record that they had. But dude, he was so gross. I think he finished the year with like 21 goals, and he was not on the power play, which is like, what?
That's wild.
What? You score 20, you're literally, you score 20, you are labeled a goal scorer in pro hockey, and this guy got it all without any PP. It was awesome.
That's really cool. Yeah. So it was really nice, man. And to learn from Barry and to watch him do his thing with the coaches and to watch him do his thing with the kids. Like, he told some amazing stories to these kids about some of these like Hall of Fame players. Like, he coached in Pittsburgh with Lemieux, Yager, Francis, those teams. He coached in Detroit with Yzerman, Shanahan, Fedorov, Lidstrom, and those teams. He was in Chicago with Kane, Taves, Keith, Seabrook, and like, man, like, not bad to say the least. And so being able to weave in some of those stories with some of like the, just tactical things about what do you need to do to get better as a kid? Like, what are some things hockey wise? What are some things mentally you need to be really good at? And yeah, it was just, dude, like, I'm gushing right now because I just had a great time. And it all started, like, the first impression, honestly, was driving in. First thing I see is about 30 kids playing roller hockey in the parking lot. I'm like, this is awesome.
Couldn't love it anymore.
And also, like, it's an academy, right? So like, you want to try as best you can to kind of have that community feel. And just seeing that was like, okay, yeah, they're letting the kids be kids,
Yeah, love it. Couldn't love it anymore. So dope.
Yeah. So anyways, so this was a really, really fun conversation. I think you guys are going to get a lot out of this. We got Chris, who heads up the program, David Arduin, who's a great coach. He's their 18U coach. And then Ben McManama, he's kind of their director of player personnel and does some coaching with them too. And, we talk a lot of youth hockey in here. We talk a lot of youth hockey. We talk a lot of, players and what we've seen in the players that have gone on and moved up different levels. We talk about different models. Like, it's a really good youth hockey talk. And yeah, it was just a pleasure to be a part of and great to do it in person. So sorry you weren't there, man. I missed you.
Yeah, I wish I would have been there. Didn't get the invite. That's all right. I was back here grinding. But I'm excited to listen to one.
Yeah, right.
I'm excited to listen to this one. So let's get it over to the boys.
Okay, cool. Before we do get over there, we do have some people to thank. First people we want to thank is Gel Sticks. Gel Sticks, unreal company. Go to GELSTX.com. They make weighted training sticks. They would weighted training lacrosse sticks, and also weighted golf clubs as well. So if you are looking to get better at any of those three sports, then this is for you. So go to GELSTX.com. Get through this, Toph. Use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, and you will get a discount on your weighted training sticks. Jeffrey, take it away.
Pretty proud to go Western Michigan here, where we learn how to put together full sentences, unlike the big red Cornell, my cousin over there. I'd like to thank Train Heroic. Train Heroic is the unbelievable app that allows me to train all of the teams, organization, and individual players. Guys, the hockey off season is about to start here. All right, I suggest everybody takes 2 weeks off after the season. Get out of the rink, get out of the gym. Go be a human being, go be a kid, get away from all of that stuff. Go play other sports, go play with your friends, go do other things, and then come back. My online training for 2024 will be out in about a week here. It will take you from the preparation phase of getting back into the gym, from your season's end all the way up to whenever your season starts. So that'll be on Train Heroic. It'll be on my website, gmbm.com. You can buy it as individuals. If you come to me as a team, you get a huge discount per player. So go to gmbm.com. You can message me directly on there. My little face will pop up. You can reach out to me, and we can talk about how I can help your team train from home if they're young, or in a gym for a super cheap price. So thank you to Train Heroic. Also want to say thank you to Cured Nutrition. Cured Nutrition is a CBD company I'm with. Use their CBD twice a day, every single day. Keeps my brain healthy, keeps my brain functioning, keeps me from putting pens in my nose like Topher is currently doing. So if you have any questions about CBD, I'm super passionate about plant medicine. Please reach out to me. You can DM me on the gram at Jeff Vecchio, blue checkmark, hot guy, or go to Cure Nutrition. Use my discount code GMBM at curenutrition.com.
I was trying to make you laugh, man, but you're one take Tony, man. One take Tony. You're a pro. Look at me. Look at me. Pro. What movie is that from?
Ooh, don't know.
Van Wilder.
Oh, great movie.
That's
Great
an
movie.
undercover, really good movie for sure.
Really good
Okay,
movie.
next we want to thank Helios Hockey. Helios Hockey, this is an unbelievable product. It is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pads, and it gives you real-time feedback right after you get off the ice. So it pairs up with your video, and it gives you stride mechanics. It gives you a hustle score, which all the younger kids love. And it, like I said, it pairs up with your video. You get all your shifts cut up for you when the game is right over. Absolute game changer, absolute time changer. So go to helioshockey.com, and we got a discount code with them. If you use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, it's going to give all new Helios members 20% off their initial 12-month membership. And that sensor that you put in your shoulder pads will be for free. Also, we got a new sponsor, guys. We got a new sponsor. Yep, we got a new sponsor, and this one is really, really cool. It's really, really cool. So it's NHL Sense Arena. It's kind of like virtual reality and development that you can do in your house. They got one for goalies and they got one for players. So in number one, I want to make sure that we do this right for them because it is new. They have sent Vechs the Sense Arena, and he will be using it. And I can't wait. I've heard really good things about these guys. And obviously, everybody who listens to us knows we are not going to promote companies that we don't believe in. We're just not going to do it. And so what I've heard from people who have used this is absolutely incredible. So for podcast read number one, I'm going to make sure I'm going to do the ad read like verbatim. And then
You've been having
you and
a
I are
tough
gonna
time reading today. So
Dude,
verbatim
I am
might
having a
be.
tough time. I spent 18 hours in the car last like 4 days. And yeah,
You know what
Yeah.
Hastings would have said to that?
excuses are like, you know what?
Buttholes.
Yeah.
Everybody's got one, bro. They all stink.
Okay, so ready? So NHL Sense Arena. I'm gonna read this, dude. You got to grade me on my ad read here because this is a legit
All right.
one. You ready to go?
Okay, get ready. Take a deep breath. See yourself killing it.
It will be
And
killed.
scene.
It shall be done. Okay. Are you tired of the constant struggle to find and afford the ice time you need to push your hockey skills to the next level? Well, you're not alone. Every player knows the pain of trying to fit in that crucial extra practice because while we have a lot of great options to work on the physical skills off the ice, we don't have many options to work on the cognitive and awareness skills. But what if you could bring that on-ice practice experience home to work on your hockey sense anytime, anywhere? If so, you've got to check out NHL Sense Arena. It's a virtual reality training game that's transforming how players and goalies practice by creating an immersive experience where you can work on your hockey sense, sharpen your situational awareness, and improve your reaction speed. Get unlimited access to over 100 plus drills for both players and goalies, training plans from pro players and coaches, weekly challenges, and more. It's the edge you've been looking for, making top-tier training accessible and affordable for just over $1 per day. Again, guys, like this is legit. This thing is unreal. Something that you can do at your. Hey, I'm not done, guys. I'm not done. And for our listeners, you can save $50 on an annual plan with the code ThinkTank, one word at checkout. That's right. $50 off, making this revolutionary training tool not just a game changer on the ice, but also for your wallet. Don't let this opportunity slide past you like a missed breakaway. Go to hockey.sensearena.com. That's HOCKEY.SENSEARENA.com and use our code ThinkTank to save. And
Scene. Wow.
Thank
Buddy, amazing. You
Thanks,
did mess up the word practice, but
I know.
I'm still going to give you an A+.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect. You're still getting an A+ out of me. That was amazing. Electrified. I felt your passion. I can't wait to get it in. I have had a lot of guys use it at the higher levels, and they really like it.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, actually. So I'm actually super stoked to get this bad Larry in and give it a whirl.
Absolutely. And also want to thank icehockeysystems.com, our boys. We actually had one of the ice hockey systems guys. He is in Rochester, lives in Rochester, Scotty Gorgon. And he came to hang out with us on Wednesday when Barry was in for our coach collaboration stuff and on the ice stuff. So it was great to see Scotty. These guys are amazing. Icehockeysystems.com is the best website out there for anything and everything coaching education. Thousands of drills, whiteboard explanations from some incredible hockey people, the ability to go in, draw your drills up on the internet and be able to disseminate them out to your team, to your players, to your parents, whoever you want to disseminate them to, can get it to them before practice so they know what the practice is like. Also, the ability to build libraries for your team, for yourself, or you can do it for your entire organization. So we have partnered with them to do an associations platform where you get this for not just all the coaches and build an organization library, but you get this for their parents because they have access to the Hockey Think Tank Parent Survival Guide, the Parent Survival Guide. So hockey directors out there, not only awesome for your coaches to build these libraries and have some unreal resources, but it's going to about halve the amount of angry phone calls that you're going to get from the parents just with this Parent Survival Guide. So go to icehockeysystems.com, look up the associations platform, and get this today. Vechs, we missed you, man. Absolutely missed you on this week. We're going to have a fun one next week. A really good buddy of ours is coming on, so we'll leave it at that, but we got a really good one next week. Thank you guys so much. Everybody who listens, we appreciate you so much. Every like, every comment, every download, every rating, every follow, every subscribe to our channel. We keep doing this for you. We're over 300 episodes in. We continue to grind this out, but it's not, right? If you love what you're doing, you don't work a day in your life, right? Vechs, that's basically your motto. And so thank you guys so much for all your support that you've done to us. And we appreciate you. We appreciate you. We say it at the end of every intro, but we want to make sure we do that because we really, really, really mean it. And we love you guys. So you guys are going to love this episode here with the crew from Bishop Kearney Academy. So without further ado, here we go with Chris Collins, David Arduin, and Ben McManama. We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. If you go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you can see all the available lines and all the available odds for all NHL games going on. That's right. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with the code THPN. New customers bet just $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with the code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights reserved. We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast, guys. I'm sitting here in beautiful Rochester, New York. Finally got away from Vechs. No Vechs today, but we have Chris Collins, David Arduin, and Ben McManama from the Bishop Kearney Selects out here in Rochester, New York. Boys, how are we doing today?
Doing great. Doing great.
So I'm excited to be here. I haven't been up in Roch in a while.
It's good to have you back, Topher.
What's it like, dude? Like,
it's a beautiful 65 sunny day.
I know.
It's like a normal March day in this town.
I know. First, I want to ask you. So, if you haven't listened to our podcast, we had Chris. We had you on what, like a year ago, maybe?
Not quite.
Maybe not quite a year ago. Yeah. So we had you on. We got you inundated on how this all came about. But like the first thing I wanted to ask you is like you started this project. What was it like? 4 years ago or so.
Yeah.
You know, and you and I used to have all these different conversations about Rochester and upstate New York hockey and everything like that. What's the feeling like now? We're in the dorms. You got a freaking podcast studio down here in the basement that we're recording live in. Like, how are you feeling just with the progress of how everything is going?
No, it's been awesome. First of all, it's nice for the first time in all these podcast interviews, I'm actually in a podcast studio. So we had the studio available the first time I walked into BK. I was like, we have to use this. So for the first time we're using it, I'm pretty pumped. But no, it's been great. It's been 8-9 years of work, right? We've put into this, especially working back with you back in the days of the ROCO midget program, moving kids to prep school, BMAC getting us involved in the Beast League. That's where I met Artie down there. Artie was coaching for the North Jersey Avalanche at the time. So just a culmination of a lot of years of hard work and trying to do things the right way with kids. And obviously for me, it's super special to have a program like this in the city of Rochester, that place I grew up in, means a lot to me and my family. And, it's just been awesome getting this thing off the ground. So I'm excited to have you back. And it's been a while since you've been back here. So it's cool for you to come back and see all the work that we've put into this place. And it's definitely blood, sweat, and tears for sure. And we've been surrounded by a really good group of guys. So I'm lucky to have the staff of guys here that we have. And I think we're just getting started with all this stuff here. So it's super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And, Artie, you come here, first of all, you're a Canadian. So you're Vancouver by blood, and you come down here in the States, and you've worked at a couple different spots now in youth hockey. Like, what's your experience like coming down and just like learning the landscape and now being here and doing what you guys are doing? Like, what are some of the biggest things you've learned just from Canada, now coming down to here, working in a couple different spots?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it really is so different from Canada. There's just so many options in hockey in the States, and I came here to play collegiately and graduated in the NCAA and started coaching NCAA hockey right away for 3 years, and then from that got shifted into the youth hockey billet model, where I ran a billet program with the North Jersey Avalanche, and then obviously in the academy model now. So it's been educational for me, and I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from my experiences and kind of learning myself is wanting to educate other players and other parents as well about the options, about the importance of arriving at your places at the right time. And I think that's one of the benefits of the model that we have is at the end of the day, we are an option for people who are trying to put their kids on the path to play college hockey. And that's, there's a lot of confusion along the way, and but there's a huge education piece, and that's something that we try and make sure that our players and our parents, when they come in our program, are educated about. But it's chaos, to be honest. Like, it's chaos, and I don't think COVID helped any bit. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. But like Chris said, we're lucky to have what we have. We're lucky to have the staff that we have. That kind of has experience in all different backgrounds to educate our players and help develop them when they're here, to make sure that they're getting to where they want to be at the right time.
Yeah, it's so true. Like the diversity of the staff based on your guys' experience in youth hockey is really, really, really awesome, to be honest with you. And, Chris being up here in Rochester, a little bit more of like the community model. High school hockey still a big thing. Artie, you're at North Jersey, but you're also from Canada. And Ben, you're in like the mecca of misinformation, crazy stuff in Boston before coming here. Yep. So for you, like, you guys talk about misinformation, and there's all this information out there, and it's confusing for so many different people. How do you go about it? And I'm not even necessarily talking about like BK and the academy model, but like, how should coaches go about really like talking to families about this process? And then like for parents, like, what are some maybe red flags when they are talking to coaches? What are some things that you feel like they should hear as they're going through this back and forth of trying to figure out what's the best option for my kid if they do have this dream of playing high level hockey?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to make sure that you create a relationship with the parents. I think, I get a lot of calls from a lot of my buddies who have kids now asking questions, and, I already have the relationship with them. But when you're talking to a coach that they don't know, if they're telling you exactly what to do and you don't have any relationship with them, it's hard to really take them at face value. So, and I see that, we talk about red flags. I see a lot of that. I see a lot of people, a lot of coaches saying, you got to do this, don't leave my program or you'll get blackballed. Like, that actually happens, and it's sad. So I think the first thing is create relationships, talk to people that you trust. There's plenty, the hockey world is small. If you ask around, if you're a parent, they'll tell you who the good people are. And, and I think that's what we pride ourselves here at BK, right? We have all good people that work here. So it's a great staff. But the relationships is the biggest part.
Yeah. And I always feel like one of the things that I talk to parents about is like, if you're talking to a coach or a program that's like telling you what you want to hear, run. Yeah. Run. You want to be surrounded by people who are going to be honest with you, like in the good and the bad. And you might not like want to hear it at the time, but it's so important. And I talk about like the recruiting process with Shafe when I was at Cornell. Like we were very upfront. Like this is who we are. It's not for everybody, but like this is who we are. This is how we do things. And this is what you got to expect when you get here. And then those kids, that's what they want. Because if you lie to them or you're not totally upfront and truthful, like then they get here and they're like, well, this is not what I was expecting.
Yep, no question.
And they're not going to have that experience. So have you guys learned just in your recruiting pitches and talking to different families and stuff, what have you guys felt has worked for you in getting the right kids here?
I think like reality, like when you're recruiting reality of the situation. Like you're not trying to sugarcoat, you're not trying to, recruit them in a fairy tale type of way. Like you're recruiting them the reality of, what we offer. You're recruiting the reality of not just the hockey side of things, but we understand, and all of us sitting at this table, we played the game at a high level. We went through the process. Like it's so much more than just hockey, right? It's being a part of a culture. It's being surrounded by like-minded athletes, surrounded by like-minded coaches who have experience of going through what these players want to go through. It's the human growth element. It's the academic element. It's the full picture of what their investment is really returning for them, and putting them in a safe and trusted environment. Like that for us and for me is like the most important thing, that when you're talking to a family, you're really talking about the reality of what they're signing up for.
Yeah. And I also think, you got to, I tell the parents all the time, I say, come visit the school. If it's something that you think it's going to be great for you, you'll know. The kids will know when they leave here if this is home. And I think that, we don't just say, hey, BK is the only way to do it. There's tons of different options that you can take, but you have to kind of do your homework. And the best way to do it is to have your kid, get out there, see some of these schools, spend a day at one of these schools, see what the best fit is. When the kid leaves and he tells his parents this feels like home, you have your answer. That's where you should go.
Yeah, we were always big on that in the recruiting process. Like, don't just see us, and then you got to go see some other places, because if you don't know what else is out there, there's always going to be a wandering eye, especially in today's day and age when everybody thinks the grass is greener on the other side.
And I think one of the things too, I mean, we've done a lot of emphasis on social media, and when you're looking at the social media, it looks amazing. You got players getting committed. It's all sunshine and rainbows. We've won national championships, had some luck there, but it's hard. It is really hard. The season's full of ups and downs. Players are coming from different areas of the country. Rochester isn't necessarily the most amazing place in December, January, February, and the schedule that we play is tough. I mean, these kids, the strength of schedule is, arguably top 5 in the country across the board. So there's a lot of ups and downs, and we want players and families here that understand understand it's not going to all be perfect the whole way, but that's what's going to prepare you for the next level. Because when you do get to that next level, whether it's junior, major junior, USHL, NAHL, whatever you're going, I mean, it's tough. And the good thing about our program is that we won't sugarcoat it for you, but we do have a staff of guys that really care.
Yeah.
And the kids are going to go through some tough times, but, and you're not going to hold their hand the whole time, but they're going to learn life lessons, not just hockey-wise, but it will help them as they move forward. So we want families that understand that, and really buy in from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you guys this, like how important is talking about the tough stuff to you guys? Because for me, and I got the chance to do team building with your guys' teams last night. And the first thing I talk about in terms of if you want to be a championship team or if you want to be like a championship player, you have to be resilient. Like it's the number one skill I feel like you need to have. And the story that I tell is from Theo Epstein when he took over the Chicago Cubs. He wrote that book, The Cubs Way. And when he first took over, one of the first things he did was they basically ripped up the scouting manual and put together a new scouting manual. And in that scouting manual, the one thing that was at the top of every scout sheet for every player they were looking to draft or sign had nothing to do with baseball. what are 3 ways that this person has handled adversity on the field, and what are 3 ways that this person has handled adversity off the field. Like, it wasn't batting average. It wasn't how hard you can throw or how fast you can run. It was like, I want to know how you're going to handle the tough stuff. Because at the end of the day, you're right. Like, in order to be great at anything as an individual or as a team, you go through tough stuff. And when you go through the tough stuff, you have a choice to make. You can pout. You can feel sorry for yourself. You can blame other people, point fingers, or you can look in the mirror and you can choose to see the tough times as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to learn something. It's an opportunity to get better and challenge yourself. And I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but like the players that I've been around as a player and as a coach, like the ones that really truly maximized everything that they have, whether that was the first line guy that eventually got to the NHL or the fourth line guy that just helped you win a championship and is now running a business, multi-million-dollar business, whatever, like they were resilient. It's not the best ideas that like build the best businesses. It's not the best talent that always ends up winning or getting to the next level. Like, it's the ones that almost lasted out over everybody else. And so like, how important is that to you? Obviously you talked about it in the recruiting process, but like when they're here in Rochester, you're going through the ups and you're going through the downs. Like, how do you guys communicate with those kids about that? Like, how important is it to really be really upfront, and how do you handle those situations?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I think one of the benefits we have in our model is how many different touches that we're able to get with the kids. It's not, we don't just see them at the rink for practice and that's it. We see them in the dorms, we travel with them. We're really around them all day, 24/7. And the way that we build relationships with our players is by talking them through the hard things, right? Is that's how you gain trust. That's how you help them overcome the adversity. And at the end of the day, what we realize, and what I really realize in my time in running the Billow program and living with these kids, is they don't just go through hockey pressures, right? They go through peer pressures, they go through social pressures, they go through parent pressures, they go through internet and social media pressures with EP and Instat and, you know, commitments and Instagram and Twitter and seeing all these happenings in front of their faces. You have to over communicate with your players about the good things, about the bad things, and about the hard times they're going through, because that's only going to build the trust and build the relationship. That's going to be the thing that propels them to help them get through these hard times. So, you know, and it's not just our coaches. Like, we have our dorm staff, we have, you know, our directors, we have our coaches, we have our, you know, director of player personnel, Mr. Callahan, Ryan Callahan's father. We have so many different touch points with these kids to help them through situations, no matter, you know, depending on what bucket of adversity they're going through. Is it a hockey issue? Is it a human issue? Are they homesick? Is it an academic issue? We can help steer our kids, but it's over communicating and really, you know, helping them through those hard times that helps.
I also think it's being positive. I think that, you know, I learned that over the years. I think when I first started coaching, I was kind of yelling and screaming and being like, you know, you guys got to do this. I'm telling you to do this. And they're not doing it. And then I really started to focus on being positive and having a positive energy on the bench. And I think that that's what can help these kids when, you know, they have ups and downs. I mean, we talk with our kids all the time about don't get too high, don't get too low. I think it's very important, and it's especially important when you get kids at the 14, 15, 16 age group where there's just so much going on in their lives, and, you know half of them are through puberty, half of them aren't. Like, it's crazy. They're in a very difficult time of their lives. And you just got to stay positive with them and also earn their respect, right? And I think we do that very well. I know that my door is always open. I got kids who will call me at night that have issues. Could be hockey, could be something else. You know, a lot of times it is hockey, and it is about where their path is. But just staying positive with them and being there for them, I think it goes a long way.
Dude, that's so true. And like, hearing you talk about that, like, I think about the biggest thing that made me learn that lesson, honestly, was becoming a parent. Like, becoming a parent, you talk about not getting too high and not getting too low. It's the most stressful, Chris, good luck. It's like the most, you know, like,
I'm in it. I got a 10-month-old.
It's so stressful.
I got nothing.
Girl dads.
Yeah, exactly. But like, you talk about not getting too high, like, one of the other things, and you talk about like positivity. I think patience is like right there with that. And like, we expect these, well, for me, it's like a parent, like my 6-year-old, expect them to like tell them something and then they're going to get it right away. That's just not the way it works. And even like 14s, even in the NHL level, like the best, you can tell them once and then boom, they got it. But there's room for growth for everybody. And so like that patience and that positivity is so important. And then the other thing that, like, in Vechs and I talk about this all the time, like, lessons are caught, not taught, you know? And so if you don't want your players to be too high or too low, but you as a coach ride those freaking waves, you know, like you're hitting those big Hawaiian waves or whatever, and you're always up and down and going nuts and like emotional over every little thing. Like that's what your team takes on, a personality of the head coach always. Like at any level, the team takes on the personality of the head coach. And, you know, as a parent learning that, I think it's made me a better coach because of what you're talking about, that positivity and that patience I would throw in there too. It goes a long way. And we can't expect these kids at these ages to understand what we understand. Like it took us a long time to learn what we learn about the game. And we forget about that sometimes. Like put yourself back in your 14-year-old shoes and like we just played hockey, you know, that was about it.
Well, I think for me too, I haven't coached the last couple of years here. And like I said, we have a great staff of guys. They do an unbelievable job with the kids and with the teams. And, you know, they're all competitive though. So these guys are coaching weekends in the Northeast Pack, and you're winning, you're losing, your overtime games, and you can go down to one of those Northeast Pack weekends and go 0-3 quickly because you're playing the top 5 teams in the country. And I'm up top, able to kind of see big picture. And, you know, these guys come off, you know, I feel for Artie sometimes if we're moving players on, he's playing with a low number of kids for a game, he gets beat, and he's just, I'm distraught. And I'm like, hey, it's okay. You're doing great. You're moving kids on. You're developing young athletes. Like, that is the mission of what we are doing here. So I'm a little lucky to be able to sit back and see that perspective. But I remember coaching the same thing. You're so emotional and you're so invested in these kids and in this team. And there's pressures all over the place. So I try to help these guys as much as I can, kind of talk them through certain weekends. But biggest thing for me, I always wish I'd coached before I played.
Yeah.
You know,
Amen.
I look back at my
100%.
playing career, and there are times that I look back and I'm like, man, that coach was just testing me, and I blatantly failed the test. Like I'm going to put Chris in the 4th line today, see how he does in practice. You know, I go out there in my green jersey at BC, and I'm like shooting pucks into the stands, all upset, bad body language, like failed test. You know, like so I think. You know, that's something that we do here a little bit. We put kids in some situations and, you know, put a little pressure on them and hopefully they react certain ways. And if they don't, then these guys, like they said, they can call Ben at 9 p.m. because we got a group of guys that care about them and explain why they're going through certain things. So then hopefully at the next level, when that test hits them, they're prepared for it. And because at the next level, it's cutthroat, right? You go out there and you're acting like me there playing 4th line. Maybe you're getting sent down or traded or released just because of body language or something like that. So those are all little lessons that I'd like to try to keep instilling in these younger kids. But yeah, I always look back, man. I wish I had coached. Cause I was like, oh God, that was a bad look.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Well, I'd also like to say, well, you know, to piggyback on Chris's point there, and this is great advice for coaches that are just starting out. Try the positivity thing. It's wild. You do it on the bench. Like if you're competitive and you want to win, try this. Try being positive on the bench no matter what, and see what the energy looks like for your kids. See how they perform. It's actually a selfish way, if you really want to think about it that way, to get your kids to do the right things, right? Because they'll buy in more when you're positive. And that energy, if you up and down the bench, you know, 2 goals goes in early, all right, you're still being positive. I always kind of thought that was a little odd, but then I tried it and it worked, and I haven't looked back since.
I love that. Well, you talk about like positivity and sometimes like it's tough in youth hockey. I feel like kind of with like big picture, what you guys are all talking about right now, just like the whole process versus results thing. And I would imagine, especially for you guys, like everybody wants the win, the national championship, like, and people get blinded by it, and it's incredible. Now we're competitive people. We want to win, obviously, at the end of the day. Like, and it's so funny. I feel like when you talk about process versus outcome, people think like, oh, like you want to focus on the process. It's so soft. Like, come on, like, I can't believe it. Or it's like, oh, I want to win. Oh, you don't care about the kids. All you care about is win. Like, there can be a happy medium there. You know, there can be a happy medium, but I feel like that is in youth hockey, it's tough. And I have to imagine for you guys being at an academy where people are paying tuition and going to school, and these kids and these parents have these big goals and dreams and aspirations, that at times that can be potentially difficult. You might have to have some hard conversations with people. Like, again, like, let's focus on the big picture here. Like, it's okay that we went 0-3 in a weekend, but we're going to hit some adversity, and because we lost 3 this weekend, it's going to help us to win, you know, in the playoffs because we've got through the tough stuff. So how do you guys, and Artie, maybe I'll start with you here. Like, how do you go about like talking to your players? How do you go about talking with your parents about process versus outcome and how important the process is to the outcome ending up happening at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it's sometimes cliche when it's thrown out there. But I think for us, like I'll speak on, not only being a director of the program, but doing the 18s team. Like process is probably the most important for an 18U player because of the reality of their situation, right? If you're lucky enough to come to BK at 14s, you have the 15s to graduate into, the 16s to graduate into, and then the 18s to graduate into. And with the 18s, like you can't stay in-house. Like we have to move you on. And so the process with that is, we always say, be where your feet are. Our 2 themes for our 18U team are be where your feet are. So if you're be where your feet are, you're going to really ingrain yourself in the process, and the resources and the coaches is going to help elevate you to where you want to get. But if you're already thinking the day after day with one foot out the door of where you're going to end up next, you're going to miss the whole point of why you're here in terms of diving into the culture and the development. And then the next thing is who wants to get better every day. So that's like our, Notre Dame hits the play like a champion today. We hit who wants to get better today. So no matter if it's the classroom or if it's the gym or if it's the on ice, the whole reason why you're coming to BK is to get better for the 8 months that you're there. That's the number one thing. And having people understand the process and what that can do for your hockey career, it'll help place you because you trusted your teammates, you trusted your coaches, and you trusted the program and what we can offer in our network and our resources to help get you to that place. And the number one thing that proves that for us is our alumni. And we use our alumni, and alumni are very engaged. And, we talk to the kids about so many things. We talk to them about, systems, and we talk about skill development. We talk about culture, and we talk about leadership. We talk about all these things. At the end of the day, it's so much. Where if you can get a Ryan Comney, who's an NHL draft pick who played 18 or you can talk to, a Michael Sandrick, who's a 4-year player who, advanced to the North American League, or you can talk to a Cam Reed, who's going to be a first-round pick of the NHL, who was here 14s and 15s, and now he's in the NHL. Those are the kids. If you can get them in front of groups and use your alumni to talk about the process and how thankful they are if they didn't go through the 0-3 weekend of the pack, if they didn't go through the hard practice, if they didn't go through the hard lessons, they wouldn't be prepared for where they are now. It's kind of like a full circle moment for us. So we lean on the process big time because it's the truth, right? And like you said, we don't hang our hats on national championships. Any national championship that we've won here has been creation of the process. I think our 16U team who won 2 years ago and our 14U team who won last year, those teams probably had the lowest lows of any teams that we've had in 4 years here at some point in their season. And we're probably completely written off from winning a national championship. And when you look back at it, you look back at the process of how they won, not that they were the best team with the best players with the most commitments that we've had here.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like being where your feet are, like this time of year, like for everybody that's in the car listening right now, like there could not be any better advice during silly season, right?
It's I'll even say it too, like, if you look at our 18s record from September to end of November, I think we were, 26-2-2. We're just rolling. Everyone's dive into being where your feet are, getting better every day, culture. Consciously, Coach Vitt and I, we have to then turn the page a little bit because of the way that our schedule is set up to player advancement. Right. And so you're playing in these big events. You're going to Calgary to play the Circle K in front of the BCHL and the AJHL. You have these big events that you have the McPherson Cup at St. Andrews and the Northeast Pac playoffs, and you start seeing guys sign contracts, and all of a sudden our record reflects the mindsets of our players because they stop being where their feet are, right? They forget about the process because they see this kid signing and he signed an LOI and he's in the BCHL and he's in the Alberta League and he got tendered in the NAL, and what's happening with me? Well, your process is different. Your timing is different, right? You trust it. You trust the process. You're going to get taken care of too. But our record reflects the mindsets of the priorities at the time. And when it stops becoming about the process and it stops becoming about culture and habits and wanting to get better every day, the results suffer, and so does the process. So it's no coincidence when you just look at the wins and losses. If you were to say to us, what are you guys focusing on at that time? Player advancement is our job. We have to take care of these kids, and it's always going to be a byproduct of, infringing in the process a little bit.
That's so interesting. That's like really interesting you say that, like you guys were humming, and then all of a sudden the comparison comes in.
It's year over year too. It's not just this year. It's for all 3 years we've had an 18s team, and we hang our hat on player advancement. Like Chris mentioned, like we have kids leave in season. We have right now, we have 14 kids that have signed LOIs for next year. Like, we do a really, really good job of it, but it comes at the sacrifice of wins and losses, which sometimes the parents in the stands or the people clicking to see how your program's doing, that's all they care about. They don't get to see behind the scenes of, what's going into these decisions and how it's impacting. But, we get an opportunity every day to try and get through to our players about being where your feet are and using this as perspective and reflectiveness. And, fortunately, we're at the time of the season where, you can kind of really start hanging your hat on the results and you built a lot of trust and development into that process. But then you start getting into, thinking about next year and retention and people looking over their shoulder, and you hear the rumor mill, and it's crazy, man. It is crazy. It's like the wild, wild west out there. And that's where BMAC doesn't sleep at night.
But
so
the same thing happens at the 15 ages. 14 not so much, right? But the 15 ages, the players that thought they were going to be taken by the NTDP to the 40 man. Maybe they're upset. Now they're focused on that. They're thinking, the 40 man, the dreaded invite day. But that's again, same idea, just different age groups. Every age group of players has different pressures and different, the phase 1 USHL draft, all that stuff plays into it, right? But I think by the time the national tournament comes, usually you have your squad, and that stuff is a little bit in the past, and you can make a run. And that's where I think the 16s a couple years ago, and then last year the 14s, they went through those same type of lulls around this time. And then once the national tournament set in, they all went and won a championship, and hopefully they could lean back on the past couple of months that were full of ups and downs.
Yeah.
And now let's go try to win this thing as a group, and that's not a controllable. You can't win national championships every year, but what you can do is what Artie's talking about and Ben are talking about, which is develop and advance kids, and that's our number one priority at the program here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I get, like, doing the hockey think tank, I get questions from parents all the time, like, where should my kid play? Where should my kid play? Where should my kid play? And, like, the easy thing to do is to look at, like, the stats, right? Like, the stuff you can look up on the internet. What's my hockey rankings? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, go to Live Barn and go watch a practice. Like, literally, that's it. Like, talk to the coach and see what they believe in and see if they're honest with you, and then go watch a practice. Because at the end of the day, like, good players advance. And if you work hard in practice and you have a coach that, like, understands what they're doing and can run a good practice, like, that's what's going to make you a good player, right? Like, just get good. JGG. Mm-hmm. And it's so, like, it's process driven. It's not results driven, because at the end of the day, like, and even for you guys as an academy, like, and all these other schools around, like, you can develop, but talent wins. Like, talent's a big part of that equation. But if you have a talented group that isn't coached really well, they might still kind of win a lot, but then, like, those kids aren't going to advance and be good at the next level, And so, like, don't just look at, like, the stats. Look at, like, talk to the coaches, get a feel for them, and then, like, watch a practice and get a feel for that. I think that's so important.
Toph, I remember the last podcast I did, you asked me a question about Greg Brown and Just Get Good, and I froze. I didn't remember. And I thought about it, and what that was when the reason Just Get Good got started was Eamon Powell, the now captain of BC, was 14 back at the time, and I brought him down with Casey Severo, who's now at Harvard. And I think
we don't say that.
Sorry, Toph. Yeah. Hey, Quinnell's doing just fine. So we're in the locker room, and I have, we ran into Greg Brown on the campus, and I'm like, hey, Brownie, this is Eamon Powell and Casey Severo. Eamon Powell's dreams to go to Boston College, and any advice for him to get there? And he's like, just get good. Like, just get good, buddy. Like, if you get good, we're going to take you. It was very, like, simple and easy. And I walked away from that being like, there it is. The Just Get Good is the new slogan. And then fast forward a couple of years, Brownie watches him play at the Select Festival, and Eamon puts one under the bar, and Brownie walks out and says, we like this kid. And
he's good.
And he is good. He went and got good. And the Powell family and a lot of these families bought into what we were doing back then. And but that Just Get Good came from that with Brownie. I remember that moment, and it was pretty surreal a couple nights ago on Sunday night when Eamon scored the 1-0 game-winning goal against UNH, my brother's old school. Bums over there.
Eat it, Greg.
But Powell scored a goal on the same way, rushing up the ice and getting the puck back and scoring a winning goal that clinched the Hockey East regular season. So pretty cool how the hockey world works. But I wanted to follow up on that story because I had not remembered when you asked me before where that came from.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's stay on Eamon here, because I obviously know Eamon too. And I remember when we were coaching together way back in the day, we didn't have Eamon. Was he at the program at the time? Did he go to
he had when you came in with the 16s, which were 02s.
Yeah, he went to the NTDP that year, right?
The NTDP, yep.
So I remember you telling me a story about Eamon and how you guys had like a tough weekend and he didn't play very well. And then his mom told you that he come back at whatever hour it was in the night and was like so mad, and he like went downstairs and like shot pucks for an hour.
Yeah, that's funny. That was Katie Powell, Chris Powell, some of the best hockey parents out there. It was a Chowder Cup, I think. B-Mac, you were on the bench with me, and Jerry Yorka come to watch the game, and Eamon was, he just wanted to go to BC so bad, and he played okay. But it was summer hockey, and we didn't win, and end of the day, it's summer hockey. Who cares? I drive home. We don't think anything of it. And Katie literally texts me. I think it was like 2 a.m. She's like, Chris, my son is in the basement and he will not leave. He's firing hundreds of pucks and he's so angry about not playing well this weekend. And I was just like, oh my God, like this is what this kid has it. Like that's the kind of story you hear and you're like, these are the ones. These are the kids that make it. And that was a pretty cool story. And from that moment on, I mean, we already knew that he had it. And he's not the only one. There's a lot of good players there that grew up in that Syracuse program early. And, man, it's just what the kids have inside. And just you don't have to tell him to go shoot pucks. Like, he just has that intangible, thing. You just hope every kid can kind of develop that as they come up through. But, yeah, that's a great story.
It's an unbelievable story. And I remember when you told me that, I was like, yeah, this kid, like he's gonna make it. And he's an undersized defenseman that got drafted in the NHL and captain of BC, and they're gonna have a chance to win a national championship this year. But I kind of wanted to keep on that because for you guys, like we're talking about all this stuff that like we as coaches can do to help the kids advance and get better and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's got to come from the kid. Like you have to build that internal motivation. Like if you're and that's the thing that like really sucks. You talked about, with like social media and all this comparison and stuff is like so many of the kids feel like they get motivated externally rather than like doing it because they love it, remembering when they were 7 years old on the pond or whatever. And like, that's fun and positive. Right. So like, how do you guys deal with that? There's so many external things, but we all know that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we do. If the kid doesn't have that internal fire, like they're not going to achieve what they want to achieve. How do you build that in a player? How do you talk about that with the kids that you're coaching?
Well, I think it's first before they come here, you tell them this place is not for everyone. Hockey needs to be one of the biggest things in your life. It's not an environment for people to just come to practice, and show up when they want to show up. It just doesn't work that way. I think one piece of it too is for us to get a gauge of where the kids are at. These kids want to be on the ice all the time. But if you start seeing those practices start slipping and these kids, their body language is dropping, you have to stop and take a step back. Maybe you're overworking them. Maybe they're getting burned out a little bit. And so I think that's an important thing for us. I think we do a really good job of that is testing the waters, just seeing where these kids are at, and then also being there for them. We do mental health checks every couple weeks, which I think are awesome. So we're making sure that we're talking to all these kids. We document every single thing, conversation that we're having with them to make sure we're not forgetting about a kid, but just making sure that we're there for them and that we really have a pulse on where they are as a collective during the season.
I think too. Being like you talk about it a lot when the kids are visiting, and we have spaces here that aren't necessarily structured spaces for kids to do team workouts. We have the team workouts that go on over at the rink with Next Level, which is an incredible strength conditioning group of guys. We have a gym right here in the dorms, and they don't have to go in the gym, but it's there for them. It's literally 100 feet away from their dorm room. So we create these spaces for players to take it upon themselves to go in instead of sitting there and playing Xbox, playing video games, or Snapchatting. They can walk down the street or walk down the hallway and work out and just do some maintenance, stretch, whatever it is, right? They have skills rooms downstairs that they can walk down. They can get up at 6 a.m. and go shoot pucks or stick handle. I mean, that you create these unstructured settings for these players to take onus and do it themselves. And, back to the Just Get Good and the Evolve Training Center, that's what that place was built for. It isn't the structured practices that we did growing up that made us fall in love with the game. You know, it was the playing street hockey, which you saw yesterday. You pulled up here to school, and a rare 70-degree day in Rochester in March, and kids are out on rollerblading, playing street hockey, sticks in their hands, having fun, like playing outdoor hockey in the winter. I mean, that's stuff. That's what we are trying to create here, and the kids that do that take it upon themselves, that fall in love with it. Those are the ones that we want and part of this program. But those are the ones that, in the big picture, usually end up making it on to the next level, because that's just what it takes. You ask any NHL or a guy that plays Division I college, it's funny watching the NHL draft, because they always do the interviews, and it's like, oh, how was it growing up? Well, I bet my dad built a backyard rink, and I was outside shooting pucks, and it never talked about the structured practices. They talk about just having fun and falling in love with the game, and that's a really important element to our program.
And that's like stuff that can be learned at like the youngest of ages. I think back, like I'm very fortunate to have a pretty good career too, and like I credit like basement hockey with my dad, as a big part of that, or like street hockey with my buddies in the street in front of our house. And like we had Rucker and Jimmy McGroarty on our podcast probably 2 or 3 months ago. And, Rutt's first round draft pick, plays in Michigan, and Jimmy's, I think he's the GM of Muskegon, but he's been in a lot of different places at the high levels. And yeah, like they talked about like some of their fondest memories was basement hockey, playing with each other. And I asked him because like, Jimmy, like you're a parent and you have a kid that is a first round draft pick going to play in the NHL. And there's a lot of parents listening who, they want their kids to play, or their kids have dreams to play at the high levels. Like, what are some things that you did? And he was like, yeah, we played a lot of basement hockey. Yeah. It's amazing how important that is, right?
How competitive is it when you're playing street hockey, or we just throw kids out there sometimes that evolve, and we just hit 3-on-3. Nothing, no coaches aren't putting skates on. And you see the competitive ones, because some kids might go out there and they're just kind of like, 3-on-3, I don't have to try, but
it's a day off.
Yeah, day off. You got tunes cranking, really good tunes, by the way.
Greg's got the aux cord. Yeah.
But the kids that have it are the ones that they're like, guys, let's go. Like sticks in the middle, like it's game time. And then when they lose or they come off the ice, and we're all just like, guys, it was supposed to be having fun. The kids are so upset because they lost 3-on-3, and then they, hey, coach, we want our picture on Instagram. But that's what it's all about, literally.
Yeah, I think of it too. I have a 10-month-old son now, and I'm in the hockey world as deep as you can get it right now, but I'm already like, how am I going to get my son to fall in love with hockey? And it's not going to be because, at 3 years old, I'm telling him about the brick tournament or Quebec Pee Wee or playing in an academy or winning a national championship. Like, he's got to fall in love with the game somehow. And to Chris's point, like, the family rink, the Collins rink at Village Sports, at Evolve, like, I go out there and I get like anxiety because I don't know how his sister Kelly and they do it, but there's like 60 kids on the ice, tunes blasting, their dog Grizzly is ripping around on the ice, but the kids are having a blast. They have chairs, they're pushing each other out there, they're interacting with, like, they're just out there having fun. And we do try and recreate that a lot at our program. Like we're lucky enough to have access to Village Sports at Evolve, or Chris mentioned, we do unstructured 3-on-3. We blast the tunes. We do development weekends where we'll have the whole facility for 2 hours, full-size turf sheet, 3-quarter rink, shooting room, and we'll just let the kids use whatever they want to use. And we might have a coach on the ice who's like, hey, if you want to come out there, we'll do something. You have a coach stationed in the shooting room, have guys on the turf playing handball or sewer or whatever they want to do, just like letting them be kids. And then throughout the year, we'll make sure we take times. We do like a program-wide 4-on-4 tournament where the coaches all get a team, and whether you're on the ice or on the benches, like mix the teams up. We do it during training camp. Like, we need to make sure that there's like those raw competitive moments where, you're making sure that the kids are having fun, because the season's a grind. I mean, you mentioned, when we were 14, there's no way at 14, 15, I could have ever been a part of our program, right? As it is now. And so we need to make sure that our mindset's at the forefront, since we're the ones who set up the curriculum, who set up the day-to-day, to make sure that 14 and 15-year-old, Ben McManama, Chris Collins, David Arduin could have actually survived the program and gotten better and been where their feet are and developed and trust the process. Yeah. So when they're in juniors and when they're in college, we can lean on them for their experiences to talk to the same kids who are going through it.
I love that, man. I love that. And I love how you first said too, like, it's not like I have to figure out, as a dad of a 10-month-old, I have to figure out how to make my kid a first-round pick. It was, I have to figure out how to get my kid to fall in love with hockey. Yeah. Like, have you guys played? Maybe there's like 1 or 2 people that slip through the cracks, but like, have you guys literally played with anybody that has gone to that level who didn't absolutely love the game?
No.
Absolutely not.
Not even close.
Right? And going back to what you said about like just the unstructured play and then like guys getting competitive and getting pissed off. I always remember, and you two guys, Ben and Chris, you guys play in our charity game up at Cornell, right? And we always have some NHL guys that come and play in it. And it's always really funny because, you know, we've been doing this for 10 years now. And the first half, so we do 2 halves. The first half, the NHL guys are like, oh, it's a charity game. You know, we're just kind of whatever. And then like it gets to the end of the game and in the second half and the score is kind of tight. And those, like you see the flip switch, like, you know, and they're like, okay, not losing. Let's go. So a couple years ago, we had Tom.
I bench myself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I tried to turn the switch on, but it was no electricity left in the body.
Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah, for sure. But I've noticed that as we go, like, you know, the first half is always kind of like blah because the NHL guys are kind of like, I don't want to say they're not trying to get hurt, but they, you know, I'm just having fun. It's a charity game, blah, blah. But then, then it gets close. I remember Tommy Harley a few years ago. Who's a defenseman for the Stars right now. He scored like 3 goals in the last 5 minutes of the game because he's just like, all right, our team's gonna win this, you know. But I think that's also 100%. But I also I think there's an element of compete that is ingrained in you, but I also think there's an element of compete that can be learned. How do you guys incorporate that into, because it's something honestly like I've been talking a lot about because for whatever reason I've been having a lot of conversations with like NHL scouts and people at that level, and like they're salivating for like people who compete. They're salivating for like rats, like Nick Cousin, Brad Marchand types, because those are so important for the element of winning, but there's like nobody does that anymore, you know? So like that competitiveness is something that we have to prioritize. Obviously you have to be skilled and smart, but like you gotta be competitive too. And so how do you guys incorporate that into your practices? How do you guys talk about that with like your kids? Because it, like if we're talking about me as a college recruiter, former college, and talking with all these NHL guys, like we need kids who compete. We don't see it that often, but when we do, like we get really excited. So how do you incorporate that?
Yeah, I think we can all touch on this because we all probably have it in our own way. But like, I'll just say from my point of view, like, you have to show them by example. Like, so, like, I think as coaches, there's always opportunities. Like, if you want your kids to compete, you better find a way to be the most competitive person as well, right? And to BMAC's point, that doesn't always happen to be on the bench during a game, right? That's in practice. That's maybe jumping into a practice drill. It's maybe, you know, being when you're going over video, like doing over the most competitive points that in your mind dictate wins and losses. I think that's the most important thing. I think always playing for something, right? Playing for a skate, playing for an extra duty on the road, playing for something. Like if you want them to compete, you want to give them something tangible that they're competing for, right? Because the idea of just competing, if you're trying to get someone to develop those skills, you want them to get it just because it's the idea, because it's coming out of your mouth. But if they don't have anything to play for, right, at the end of the day, when in a game we play for something, those kids are competing because they want to win the game, right? So they want to win the game because there's something tangible. So I think that that's part of it. But a lot of the stuff that we do, like off the ice too, like our dorm chores, like when kids are in the residence halls for dorms, they get split up into 4 groups. When the dorms are complete, the dorm supervisor goes around and gives them a win or a loss. And if they win the dorms, which means they're done to the satisfactory level, then they don't have to do the dorm. Then it rotates to the next team the next day. If they lose, they have to do it again the next day, right? So you want to talk about like competing. You cannot turn a switch on when you lace up the skates and say, I'm going to just compete today. But I didn't compete in the classroom and I didn't compete in the dorms and I was late to the bus when it left for the rink. Like you have to teach them to compete in all levels so it becomes instinctual and natural. And the last thing that I'll say about this program is the best part about being in this style of program is if you're not competitive and you're surrounded by 80 other like-minded people, you're going to get left behind, right? And the biggest thing that we tell our guys is you're all coming from, you know, being the best player or one of the best players in your organization. Just because you're here and you're maybe not on the first line or you're not on the power play doesn't mean you still aren't that player, but it's up to you to bring that out of yourself to add to the competitive mix so you can rise to the top and be that player amongst this new environment. So you have to do it on all different fronts. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think, you know, from what I do, kind of bringing the kids in, it's, you know, they all say that they're competitive and they'll all tell you that. And you really don't find out until that first day of practice when they get out on the ice. And there's also, you have to understand too, that there's being a competitive person and then there's being uber competitive, right? There's a separation there that, you see, when you see it, you know it. If we can get 4 or 5 kids like that who are just extremely competitive and they're on the ice with that team, those practices are going to be so intense and they're going to bring everyone up with them. So a lot of it, for me, I look for it, but it's a hard thing to look for, right? You could see a kid, maybe I go watch a game and a kid blocks a shot or maybe blocks 2 shots. Great. Maybe I don't see the next 7 games where he doesn't block any shots. It's hard to really know what you're bringing in until you put them in the group setting and see what they're like. And I know if we've got, I've had teams with just one guy with super intensity and it's just, he can't pull up everyone else. He just can't pull them up to his level. And then I've had like 4 or 5. And those were the most intense practices I've ever seen from day one. And it was the same drills. Right, so the drills didn't change. The kids just changed, and it was a new group where they were pulling guys that were, thought they were competitive up to their level. And I remember that, when I was a freshman at BC, when I walked into that first practice, I thought I knew what work was. I thought I knew what hard work was until I stepped on the ice and I saw all these guys going a million miles per hour, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is something different. I better, it's sink or swim now. So, but it helped me. It brought me up closer to their level of compete. And, Chris and I, we have a nice, funny little story about that where Chris so after I was a freshman, I kind of learned that, right? I learned how to be competitive in practice, and our practices at BC were absolute battles. And, I line up at a face-off dot with Chris during a drill, and I just,
Would you just like stick you in the face or something like that?
Yeah.
I can see a little cross check to the neck kind of thing.
No, so I just give him a little bump, right? Just be like, hey, little guy, a little freshman. I'll just give him a little bump without hesitation. He turns around and 2 hands me across the ankles, and we've been great friends ever since. So.
Yeah, that's a good story. I remember Cav was dropping the puck, and Cav turned around and he's like, "You guys good?" T-Mac's like, "I don't know. This guy's a psychopath." But no, that's a huge point. You got to have the edge. No matter how skilled you are, there's so many good players out there. The players that don't have that edge, that fierce, rat type mentality, that's a way to change momentum every single shift. And man, there's not enough of those kids right now. We're trying to instill that. But one thing I think that the program here does do really well, and we're lucky to have 4 teams that, 80, 82 kids, depending on the year, that are fiercely competitive for the most part. And I'll say that the coaches are just as competitive. So we've done a lot of things inter-squad games where we had 14 scrimmage to 15s, 15 scrimmage to 16s, vice versa. I've been having to mediate our coaches at times because the 15s are beating the 16s and the kids are just going after each other and the coaches are like at each other's throats. I'm like, guys, we're all in house here. We're not, you're not playing the gulls here, guys. But to that point, whether it's having our teams scrimmage each other, whether it's dividing teams up across the board, there's just a lot of ways for us as a staff to get these kids to compete against each other. And no matter what, if it's the 14s versus 15s or vice versa, or the teams just throw on the red jersey versus the black jersey with mixed kids, it is intense.
Yeah.
And there's times where we literally need to be like, guys, you're all on the same team here. So that is a really good element to our program that I think we do a nice job of. And the kids that win get the picture on Instagram, so they get the little feather in the cap at the end.
Well, it's funny. Like I know, like the best teams that I've ever been on, the practices were harder than the games.
Yeah,
like the practices were legit harder than games. I remember my first practice at Cornell and like looking out on the ice and being like, these guys are psychos. Yeah. And I love it. This is unreal, and I'm blessed to have the opportunity to work with Adam Fantilli last year to be able to tell these types of stories. Because when you tell stories to kids doing team building, when you mention a name like that, their ears perk up a little bit. But like, dude, he's the most competitive person I've ever met in my entire life. Like, it's not even close. And watching him, Ben, you mentioned being able to raise the level in practice. Like every time he was out there for a rep, guys were on guard because like he was going to come after you, and I think about like, he's a freaking 17-year-old freshman that should be a senior in high school playing at the University of Michigan. and he's the one bringing up the intensity. That's why he's the 3rd overall draft pick. That's why he played for World Juniors for Team Canada. That's why it's his compete. Obviously he's good and he's got great hockey sense and skill and everything else that you need to be a great player. But like, that's what makes him, you know?
Well, that's like, I had the Beniers kid. He came to one of our skills things. He was just, he's just around the rink. He's like, can I jump on with your guys? And I had, I think it was 04s at the time. So a couple years younger than them. We just did a neutral zone kind of 2-on-2 scrimmage type game. And he played that like it was Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. And all our kids noticed it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. Like, now those kids that I was training back then, they're now in college. And I know that they took that with them. They saw that. Because I remember them coming up to me and be like, wow, this guy's insane. He's going a million miles per hour. I mean, it's July. Like, this is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. That's what it takes. So, it's not me telling the kids, my 04s that. It's them actually seeing it.
Yeah.
And it's the same idea when they get to practice and they get some guys that are, extremely high compete.
Yeah, it's and again, like, for you who is looking to bring people into BK, like, how high is that on your chart of, hey, we want I see I wish this was on video. I just saw your eyes, you're like,
Yeah. It's we want it. We think we get it. But you just don't know. You don't know until they get here what they really are, because they're going to be the test. They're never going to be tested like this before either. Right, because they're going to be put into a situation with a bunch of other really good players. So, like with me at BC, I thought I was battle tested until I stepped on the ice that first day, and I was like, I'm not. I gotta pick it up.
Well, it's like Greg, the 14s this past year. I mean, they come off a winning national championship, and he's like, Chris, can you give me like some kind of cupcake game? The first 10 games, he played the hardest schedule. It was like top team GTHL, bam, Northeast Pack, Mount. It's right down the list, and they had the hardest strength of schedule 20 games in, and they actually battled, and they struggled in the beginning, and then they had basically a 500 record. And I'm like, man, that's what these kids are gaining in that first 2, 3, 4 weeks. It's not easy, and these parents are like, probably, oh my God, the kid's coming from wherever they're coming from, but like that is hard.
Yeah.
Greg's like, Chris, can you give me a couple games here? I think it's figured out.
You know what though? You make a good point, and like, I think that's something, like, as coaches at your guys' level, like, the one thing we really want to make sure we do with our kids is make sure they're prepared for the next level, because the next level, they don't know it yet because they haven't been there, is so much harder. Every level you go up is so much harder. And I distinctly remember, and I tell this in my team building, it's a story about Matt Molson. So Mols played, 8-9 years in the NHL. He was a guy that got cut from his junior team at 18 years old. Then he goes to Cornell, has a great career, and the team that drafts him in the 7th round doesn't sign him. So he's got to go spend 4 or 5 years in the AHL to prove it. And then eventually he got his shot and did his best with it. But I'll never forget my first day on campus at Cornell. We're all hanging out at the hockey house. Mols comes up to me, introduces himself. He's like, hey, Topher, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, hey, I'm Matt Molson. I'm like, hey, Matt Molson, nice to meet you. I heard a lot of really good things. Next thing he says to me, meet me at the football field at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And I was like, excuse me? He's like, yeah, meet me at the football field at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I was like, holy crap, okay. So I met him at the football field at 8 o'clock the next morning, and he put me through one of the hardest workouts I've ever been in. It wasn't that hard for him. It was really hard for me coming in. I just didn't know the level. I didn't know what it meant to be a college or a Cornell hockey player until I got on the football field. And I'll be forever grateful for him, because it took me one day. And you guys all know, you guys are overachievers. Like, we pride ourselves on being the hardest workers. We didn't get to where we get to without having that in our system. But there's always another level that you can get to, and you don't know that until you know. And so, like, I think that's just a really important thing to talk to the kids about, is like, hey, we're making this hard for a reason, because it's going to get harder every level. Even if it's from 14 to 15 or 15 to 16, 16 to 18, like, it's a different jump. And so we have to make it hard, just kind of going back. And it's funny how, like, literally every podcast we do, it gets back to this resiliency and making it hard, and the hard is good. It's an opportunity to get better. Like, it's a huge piece of it. So
I thought you might have been going to the meet at Ninth Green at 9 thing.
Going to the football field, all the sprinklers come on. Yeah. Shooter McGavin, that guy. Well, this was awesome, guys. So one more thing I want to do with you guys, and this is something that we do for our Hockey Think Tank community on Facebook. We'll do a 10 questions with you guys. And from that'll be housed just on our community. It won't be housed on the podcast. And we've loved doing these. So if you guys are up for it, we'll do a little 10 questions here.
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, thanks guys. Really appreciate your time. And BK, what's the website? Like, where can people find you? Obviously you're on social media and stuff like that. But where can people get more information about BK?
Yeah, it's just bkhs.org. You can go in there. The best way to what am I getting? Is it online now?
That's the high school site. bkselects.org.
Sorry.
There you go.
All right. So if you go to the other one, that's how you can inquire to apply to the school.
Two separate
and
things,
we need to. So I'm talking about the application side. So if you want to reach out to us and put your name in there, if you put an inquiry in, that name comes out, and we take a look at all those people that send those in.
And BMAX admissions and player.
Yeah, we were two separate.
So his brain's going.
My brain's in the
the
spots.
Big time of year for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
website is bkselects.org.
Okay.
Then obviously we have the social media on Twitter and Instagram that we crank out pretty much regularly day to day. So if people can, especially the kids, they love watching that stuff. So good way to follow along with the program day in, day out.
Sweet.
Thanks, Topher.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.